So this week what I'm thinking about is actually a continuation of our consideration last week as we try and understand more of God's life as Trinity, with the key piece being Jesus as the high priest. Now we were considering last week as well the idea of theosis, this being integrated into the life of God, the participation in the divine nature. And really I think the way to understand this best is to get a grasp again of the high priestly role of Jesus. Now typically within Hebrew theology, the priest was a man who would be appointed as a representative of the people and would represent the people to God and would represent God to the people, and the priest's work and action actually established the results. So the activity created results. So there would be offerings of prayers, there would be offerings of sacrifices, and then there would be forgiveness and absolution granted and blessings granted as well. So the actions and the words and the prayers established the very work of the priest. What we find in Jesus, though, is something supremely better and more than. I think when we look at Jesus as our high priest, we realize that it's not primarily even because of his action as priest, although that in itself is stunning and beautiful, his self-giving upon the cross. I think his priestly role is actually established not even primarily through his action, but really through his very existence, through his identity. His identity as one who is fully divine, the life of God, and fully human, the life of Jesus of Nazareth in a human body. So Jesus' priestly role is not even something that he's appointed to and then functions something with his activity. His priestly role is established because of who he is, fully God and fully human. Something has come together in Jesus that was never together before. Something radically new has happened in Jesus that had never happened before. The Creator was now bound together with the creation in the body of Jesus. Eternity was now bound together with time in the body of Jesus. The transcendence of God, the untouchable, unseen dimensions of God's life were now made known and manifest through the incarnation, the actual physical human body of Jesus of Nazareth, being that which brings together the life of God and the life of humanity. And what we have in the gospel is that Jesus is the representative of humanity. He's not just a single figure functioning in isolation, but he actually represents us, that humanity is somehow bound into him somehow, and therefore is now bound into the life of God. Now this is really one of the central theses of Karl Barth. Karl Barth's arguably the most influential theologian of the last 100 years. And in his magnum opus, which is Church Dogmatics, one of the central themes is this radical new appointment of God's life into history in the life of Jesus, and this radical new appointment of humanity into the life of God in Jesus. And in particular in Church Dogmatics Volume 4 on reconciliation, this is really the theme that he never lets up on, which is that Jesus is really the totality of humanity, binding us into the life of God. So it challenges actually something of what we might think. If we ask ourselves, how do I get my life connected with God? How do I get bound into God? Is it something I believe? Is it something I pray? Is it something I do? Is it something I confess? Well, actually, Karl Barth proposes it's actually already done. It's not for you to establish it, it's for you to then enjoy it. It's for you to realize what God has already done for you in Christ, with humanity being brought together into the life of God in Jesus Christ. So the Trinity now becomes the dwelling place of humanity, and God's people are those appointed to be the herald of this good news, right? That we get to understand this and worship God in light of this, and then seek to share that salt and that light with the world. So beautiful thoughts to ponder as we consider the high priestly role of Jesus ushering us into the very life of the Trinity. Till next time, peace.